when astronauts return from the moon. Their homecoming is not marked by joyous, spontaneous celebrations. Instead, they follow an elaborate ritual that speaks volumes about our modern anxieties. Rather than kneeling to kiss the ground, they wear surgical masks and walk briskly, arms raised, into sterile quarantine chambers. They wave at the president from behind glass, careful not to let even a speck of moon dust reach him. They are transported in sealed containers to Houston, where they remain isolated while scientists examine inoculated animals and tissue cultures for any signs of lunar contamination. Only after this long antiseptic ceremony are they permitted to step into the sunlight and join a public parade. To an outsider, perhaps a visitor from another planet or another era, this behavior might seem bizarre, even lunatic. But to us, it is accepted without question, as if it follows a natural law. The underlying assumption is clear: if there were life on the moon, we must fear it. We must guard against it as if it were inherently hostile, a microscopic invader that could threaten life on Earth. We are quick to imagine alien microbes, rogue enzymes, or strange, hairless beings with piercing eyes, always foreign, always dangerous. It is almost certain that if we did find extraterrestrial life, the first debate would revolve around how to contain or even destroy it. This attitude reflects something deeper about our times. Our century has been shaped by an obsession with disease, containment, and self-preservation. We have learned to define life in terms of threats rather than possibilities, enemies rather than companions. But what if this perspective is fundamentally flawed? What if life, in its essence, is not about conflict but about cooperation, the interwoven fabric of life? Most associations between living things on Earth are not adversarial but symbiotic. Microbes, bacteria, and fungi do not merely exist alongside one. They thrive together in vast, interdependent networks. Even when species appear to be competitors, their interactions often resemble a complex dance rather than a battle. It usually takes prolonged, intimate coexistence before one organism can even cause illness in another. On our own planet, microbes live in dense communities, supporting one another through chemical exchanges. Many bacteria cannot even survive in isolation. Just as a single bee removed from its hive will quickly perish, some bacteria have evolved to penetrate the cells of other bacteria, replicating inside them before bursting free, mimicking the behavior of viruses. Others have become so deeply integrated into the tissues of plants and animals that they function as essential organs. For example, Rhizobia bacteria swarm the roots of leguminous plants, initially appearing invasive. Yet, rather than harming the plant, they form nodules that serve as Earth's primary system. Nitrogen fixation, an essential process for sustaining life. This relationship is so sophisticated that the bacteria signal the plant to produce a special protein, like hemoglobin, which regulates oxygen levels within the nodule. Some scientists believe that the genetic instructions for this protein may have originally come from bacteria, transferred to plants in the deep history of evolution. Similar symbiotic relationships can be found in insects. Certain bacteria live within the tissues of cockroaches and termites, passed down from generation to generation like mitochondria. Without them, the insect hosts cannot survive. Some researchers even suggest that symbiotic unions between ancient single-celled organisms led to the formation of complex life forms, including humans. If this theory is true, then the very idea of self has long been blurred. Our cells, our bodies, and even our thoughts may be the result of countless partnerships, formed over billions of years. Cooperation in the animal world. This pattern extends beyond microbes. In the ocean, anemones attach themselves to crab shells, and crabs, in turn, recognize and seek out their specific anemone partners. Young damselfish must cautiously introduce themselves to the lethal tentacles of certain anemones before they are accepted and granted protection. Sometimes, nature produces unexpected hybrid creations. In Australia, tiny sea creatures known as nudibranchs have been found, incorporating the stinging cells of Portuguese men of war into their own bodies, turning their meal into a living weapon. It is as if evolution itself occasionally experiments with new alliances, merging two species' strengths into one. Even in competitive situations, nature does not always favor direct conflict. Some species avoid outright confrontation through self-sacrificing behaviors. Certain marine organisms, when placed in close proximity, do not attack one another. Instead, the smaller individual will begin to disintegrate on its own, as if choosing to bow out rather than engage in a futile struggle. Such mechanisms for preserving individuality likely existed long before the evolution of the immune system. Rethinking life's boundaries. The oxygen we breathe is the byproduct of chloroplasts, tiny plant structures that originated as independent bacteria, before merging permanently with plant cells. In laboratory experiments, genetically unrelated cells readily fuse together, ignoring species differences. Inflammation and immune defenses are the only things preventing life from blending into a single, interconnected mass. Without them, the planet might have evolved into a vast, flowing organism, rather than a collection of separate species. So what does all this mean for how we view extraterrestrial life? If we ever encounter it, will we immediately lock it away in sterile chambers, fearing contamination, or will we recognize that life, by its very nature, tends toward cooperation, symbiosis, and mutual survival? Perhaps, if we can overcome our instinctive fear of the unknown, we might one day embrace life beyond Earth, not as a threat, but as a potential partner in the grand, interconnected web of existence. If you found this perspective thought-provoking, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think humanity should respond to extraterrestrial life? Let's continue the discussion.